Ladies and gentlemen, there is no better way than to start the weekend off here. And we're starting it bright and early here on Sportswire Radio because last night we sort of set the tables for this. And our guest right now, because he was referenced and there was a big back and forth, that was the talk of the social media world in professional wrestling, and especially in the UK, because we know that next Saturday there is going to be a huge contract signing for the GT Ministries World Championship. And our guest is the man that holds that belt. He is the man that makes the engine run here in GT Ministries. We're excited to have him on here. We know Mr. Johnson had a lot to say about him, but now it's his turn and some. So without further ado here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show, pro wrestling star and a reigning, defending GT Ministries World Heavyweight Champion, that is Gareth Angel.
Fantastic. Well done. You should take that up as a career.
Well, listen, I mean, at this point, considering how everyone may think of me, if I'm willing to come to your town, I'm willing to come to Mr. Bibby's town, I'm willing to come to anywhere that will have me. So at this point, if that nature calls and God calls us, no pun intended, never say never, as Vince McMahon would say. So never say never.
We'll have you over. Totally. Yeah, we'll get you in.
We'll make it happen. But first things first, champ, it is a tremendous honor. Anytime you get to speak with a world champion, you jump at it. You are a world champion, but you are a world champion outside the ring as well. You are not just a wrestling star. You do so many great other things. You're an actor. You're a father. You're a minister. You do so many different things. Christians Against Poverty. I will try as much as I can to get all of that in here in a nutshell within the hour. But set the tables for us, champ, because certainly Mr. Johnson had a lot to say last night, especially we have a big contract signing coming up here between you and him for this belt that you hold in the background here next Saturday. So now, champ, your response.
I think Jack needs to really realize something, and he really needs to get this clear. He says that there's a massive difference between me and him. I would say there isn't. I would say we've both been through tough stuff. You'll hear my story, I'm sure. We've both been in the streets. We both had to fight. Both had to deal with some pretty horrible stuff in our lives. The difference between me and him is that I've gone one path, he's gone down another. I actually want to help people in their lives. I don't do this for greed. I don't do this for fame. I do this to see others reach their potential. People like Jack. Whereas Jack is in it for the fame, glory, and the money, and everything else that he can get because he thinks the world owes him. So when he comes for this championship, he isn't going to do it with honor and respect and integrity. He isn't going to do it with values that mean something in a world that is broken. He's going to do it if that means he cheats or he lies or he steals or he brings meatheads with him or he gets other people involved or he does underhanded tactics, knocks out a ref, hits a low blow, scratches an eye, he'll do it. And I just don't like people like that. I would rather he come at me like a man. I would rather he come at me like a champion would. I'd rather he come at me like a respectful professional athlete and we do this fairly. But I know what to expect. I know that he's going to do what he can.
You said a number of different things here, and I want to talk about them because you talked about the fact that you and him, and he touched upon it, that you had a similar life journey, but you went on different paths. Why do you think, though, he's resorted to the tactics that he has to try and take your championship away? Do you feel as if you've tried maybe to show him the light, and for whatever reason, he rejects it? I mean, talk to us about that.
If you go back to our takeover event, which was the first time that Jack actually wrestled for GT Ministries, we've been going about 3 years, and we brought the championship in. It's our first event back after the lockdown. We wanted to do something special. I put out an open challenge and I said, look, anybody who wants to come and face me, let's have a go. And Jack responded, along with Bentley, along with Jepson, along with Matt Williams, a bunch of the other guys. And instead of just going, okay, well, I'm going to pick my own opponent and do my own thing and put the belt on the line, all the rest of it, I made it open. I made it fair. We did a tournament. Jack was invited into that tournament. I didn't have to invite him, but I did because I wanted to give him an opportunity because I think he deserves it. He's a phenomenal wrestler. Phenomenal wrestler. Same with Bentley. Same with Matt Williams. Same with Andrew Jepson. All the guys in the tournament. All of them are phenomenal. They don't get enough recognition or respect, and they don't get enough opportunities. So I wanted to provide an opportunity. Now, for me and him to get to the final, that takes something to have multiple matches on one night. It does. Now,
No
if you
question.
look at the difference, I was there one-on-one with Bentley, and I offered him a hand after the match, told him fair fight, and we shook hands. Jack, on the other hand, hired 2 goons, smashed Rarebit with a metal pipe, and did what he could to work his way through. Then Williams was battered by Jepson too much so that he couldn't compete. Jepson threw a bunch of guys all over the place, smacking all these security guards. So he got himself disqualified. So it ended up in a one-on-one. And the first thing I did was I offered my hand to Jack. That's the first thing I did was I gave him an opportunity to choose differently, to be different. And he threw that back in my face. And so as the match continued and his goons got involved, and at the end, you can watch this, it's all online, he will say, oh, I might have cheated. He did many different things. He pulled the ref in the way and got hit. He tried to use a metal pipe. He got his 2 goons involved. He smashed me with the belt. So all of that stuff tells me that Jack had not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, multiple opportunities to choose a different path. And
That's a lot of
do it.
opportunities. Listen, champ, I mean, it's one thing if you do it once. It's another if you do it twice, maybe. But you're telling me 4 and 5 and 6 occasions. You might as well at this point try everything in the book. And if it still doesn't work, then maybe that tells you, you know what? Maybe you do need to see the light. Maybe you do need to change. I mean, that's just from what you're telling us here. From you're telling us here, for those who are watching, listening to this, that's what it sounds like.
But then let's go on. So let's count.
Okay, ladies. Yeah.
So it was a weekend of events. And the next we had a show and we had his goons turn on him because, sorry, I'm back. My signal's a bit poor. The next day, his goons on him because he hadn't paid. And now he's manipulating Bentley once. He's using people. That's the kind of character that he is.
No question that he's definitely a character that we're more or less finding out new things here each and every day here. And it looks like we do have some technical difficulties, it looks like here. But we're certainly working on them here. Yeah, no problem. And obviously also want to work in a few different comments that we've read off here. We also have Jonathan Holloway, who's watching this here for the first time. Shout out to Jonathan. Also, Bradley Cook Pattinson. And Bradley had a nice comment here. He says, GTM is a great place to be. Jonathan is also an Academy student watching. So I want to definitely recognize them. And, of course, everybody else here that is with us here very early as we are with Gareth Angel here. He is the GT Ministries World Champion. But, okay, now we've gotten some of that stuff here out of the way between a little bit of a backstory between Mr. Johnson and yourself. But also talk to me about your reaction to Mr. Johnson's comments where Mr. Johnson on that long ride home to Sulphur, and I'll get into Dangerous in a second because I do want to get into Rabbit. I want to get into Alex Boylan because you kind of touched upon them. But talk to me about your reactions, though, to certainly Mr. Johnson's car ride home where he shed a few tears or two. I mean, certainly from your vantage point, I'm sure you're going to have a different view from that.
I think Johnson should have taken that long car ride home in tears as something to really have thought about and not see it as a negative, but see it again as another opportunity for him to check himself. If it meant that much to him and it hurt that he wasn't able to win it on his birthday, he might have beaten me if he'd have gone fairly. Because the thing is, at the end of that match, Linda restarted it, and she's the church leader at Fountains, so she kind of plays a general manager kind of role. She restarted that match because of all the shenanigans. If he'd have played fairly, he might have beaten me. I think Jack has in him to really do. And I'm going to big him up because he is that good. I just don't think he needs all the extra stuff around him to get there. So if he's going to sit in his car and cry and bitch and moan about it, he needs to check himself, look in the mirror, dust himself off and come back a better man. And then maybe, just maybe, the next time he gets an opportunity, which he has, he might just get the job done. You never know.
Sometimes in wrestling, what winds up happening is you're in a group or you feel a certain way, and then you wind up having to make that decision to go on your own. And sometimes that's the way it works, where you go on your own and you become a successful person or more successful. We saw it with The Rock. He was corporate Rock, but then eventually he went on his own. He became even bigger. Shawn Michaels in the past. I mean, obviously Randy Orton with Evolution. So I see where you're coming from in this sense, because Jack is still a younger wrestler. Jack is trying to figure out here, maybe to find himself. That then brings me to Dangerous. And obviously Rabbit, Alex Boylan. I mean, do you think he needs them? Because you touched upon it, that in a fair fight, you'd be willing to say, you know what? Jack's a good wrestler. Jack would have a shot. But from what you're telling us here, Dangerous, what kind of role are they going to play here in this?
Well, Dangerous, for me, I think they need to. Dangerous for me, I think they are exactly that. They are dangerous. I think Jack has aligned himself with two very good people. Boylan has been wrestling quite a while now. He's very skilled. Rabbit, I mean, have you seen the guy? He is.
Oh, I listen.
scary.
I've seen some of him from BTW.
Yeah, that guy is something else, absolutely something else, and he is a behemoth of a man. The thing is with these kinds of relationships, when they only ever support one person, which is Jack in this instance, sooner or later, both of those guys are going to want a taste of the pie. Both of those guys are going to want what Jack has around his waist. Well, it doesn't fit around his waist; it's that small. Maybe over his shoulder. And sooner or later, that's going to cause fractures. That's going to cause cracks, and they're going to realize they're being used and manipulated. Now, I wouldn't want Rarebit to suddenly realize that I've been using and manipulating him. If I was manipulating Rarebit, I wouldn't want to make an enemy of that man. I would not want to make an
Good point.
enemy of that. So I think Jack needs to be careful about what he does. How it works clearly does. It's getting in positions. Later, there'll be fractures and cracks. And sooner or later, he's going to be the one who ends up on the back burner, and he's going to be the one who ends up getting two little friends. And I wouldn't want to see Jack versus Rarebit with an angry Rarebit. Would not be good for Jack.
I wouldn't want to see Rabbit angry. I wouldn't even want to see Rabbit when he's happy, because we see the way he looks and what he can do in the ring. I mean, I almost have to ask you. I mean, Champ, I know you're a big man. I know you've been in big matches. You've done this. This isn't your first rodeo. But are you almost, maybe in a sense, kind of having eyes in the back of your head almost? I mean, talk to me about that, because, I mean, you do have to worry about these. I know what you're saying, and there could be some friction, maybe some division. But what do you do to keep that in the back of your mind, saying, hey, I do have to worry about that? I mean, what do you do?
Well, I see, this is the thing. When you become a champion, the old phrase goes, there's a target on your back. You understand that. When you get to that level, you understand everybody's going to be gunning for you. I've faced many different opponents since I won the championship back in July. I've been champion now for over 150 days. I know when I come into that match with Jack, I definitely need to have eyes in the back of my head. I know I need to have the referee aware of the situation. I need to have my fans aware of the situation. I need them to be telling me what's going on around the ring. I need to use every single sense, every skill, every iota of experience that I've made over the past 10 years to make sure I come out of that match still the GTM World Heavyweight Champion. For Jack, all he needs to do is create opportunities. That's all he needs to do.
I'll tell you what, we're going to certainly find out here. And I think a lot of people are really, really intrigued about this here because we're going to have a huge contract signing coming up here. And like I said last night, forget about the Hulk and Andre contract signing in 1987, 88. Forget about Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold for before WrestleMania 14. I have a feeling that Gareth Angel and Jack Johnson, something's going to happen here next Saturday. And these are reasons why, if you can, make sure you get out there and support GT Ministries because GT Ministries does so many great things. It's not just about professional wrestling. It's about helping people. It's about things in the community. Obviously, the church. Obviously, God. All these different things. And Gareth Angel is our big example as to why you need to support GT Ministries. And I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryson. We are live here for a special. Listen, when the champ asks he wants to come on, like we said last night, we make sure we drop all of our stuff and make sure that we find a way to get him on here. We have a lot of fans watching here and listening, so very, very happy about that as well. And we'll get into some of those things here. But talk to me for those who are watching and listening to you for the first time. I know you're very, very worldwide at this point because we'll get into BBC. We'll get into all that great stuff, even some of the LWF in the past because we do a lot of work with the LWF. I'm sure you're aware of that by now. But talk to me for those who are watching and listening to this for the first time, whether it's on Sportswire Radio, whether it's Northeast Streaming Sports Channel, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, you name it. GT Ministries, and what do you guys do?
So we were an idea that was born a number of years ago through my life and my story, my journey has been something that I've been sharing for a couple of years to inspire and encourage people that no matter what you've been through in your life, that you can turn it around, and that faith was a massive aspect of that for me. And the idea came that I've been wrestling for 7 or 8 years by that point, and I'd ran a couple of shows previously, and I just thought, hang on a second, if I run my own event, then I can control the content, what matches we have, the card, all that kind of stuff. And so I decided, then why wouldn't I just plonk my story smack bang in the middle of a wrestling show and give people the opportunity to hear it and to kind of be inspired and encouraged to make some action in their own lives and turn things around. So that's where the idea came from. And we partnered exclusively with churches because they're massive community projects. Most of them have got things going on like food banks, employment, debt, budgeting, mental health issues, all that kind of stuff. The church is a community anchor. And obviously with the faith aspect of my story, it made sense to partner up. And churches are phenomenal venues for wrestling shows. They've got big screens, all the lights. They are purpose built for events, and a wrestling show in a church just takes it to another level. You get the great visuals of the stained glass windows, and it's phenomenal. So that was born 3 years ago, and we've been building ever since. We are regularly in newspaper articles, radio, TV interviews, touring the country, up and down the country.
And ladies and gentlemen,
and then last year we partnered with Fountains Church in Bradford to open a wrestling school there with a space that.
And ladies and gentlemen, I think it's the champion's internet there, so we apologize for some of the technical difficulties. These things do certainly happen. So we're certainly hopeful that the champ's internet gets a little bit better here because we did lose him there for a second. Do we have you back on now?
Am I back?
Now.
Okay.
There we go. So listen,
right,
sometimes we had Nathan Gunn on it, and Nathan Gunn from the LWF. It took them an hour to figure
Yeah.
out the stream. Sometimes these things do happen.
Yeah.
We realize there are internet connections out there, but you were talking about obviously how important it is what you guys do. And, professional wrestling and religion and church, I actually think goes hand in hand, because there are a number of wrestlers who've been very public about their faith. Obviously, some of the big ones are Sting, Shawn Michaels, huge example of somebody that really turned around his life. Even most notably right now, The Undertaker. So I really do think that the incorporation of wrestling in church actually makes a lot of sense, because if you think about professional wrestling and what we do with professional wrestling to me is one of the only outlets, champ, that I think, and I know it because I talk about it all the time here. I've been doing this for 3+ years, that really brings people together of all walks of life in a very easy and subtle way, can bring people together. And the power, I think, of wrestling in church, to me, this is a home run. This is a no-brainer. I could clearly see why this is an idea that you've really incorporated and why we're having a lot of success here, I think, across the UK.
Yeah, I mean, it's physical storytelling in its form. If you read the Bible, you've got David versus Goliath, Cain versus Abel. There's all these stories, all these narratives of good overcoming evil. It does go hand in hand. I think perfect. Don't know why it's not happening all around me. I don't know why I suddenly became the first guy to do it, but I'm doing it in the UK. I do know that there are some churches in America. There's a couple in Texas that I know of that do a similar
Ted
thing.
DiBiase was a big part of that. Ted DiBiase Sr.
Yeah,
Big part of that.
yeah. But no, we're the only one in the UK doing that at the moment.
Why do you think that is? Because I would think, especially in the UK, because we cover a lot of professional wrestling here, and the scene is just so explosive. And I also know, obviously, there are a lot of people in the UK, like most places in the world, that obviously want to accept Jesus Christ and they want to believe in God, and they want to have those values, especially in this day and age with everything that's going on in the world. Why do you think that's been in the UK? You're the only one doing it.
I think a part of that is just who I am. I am not ashamed of my faith at all. I wear it on my sleeve. Literally have it tattooed on my arm.
Well, you have a shirt, obviously. Pray, eat, and wrestle, repeat. Pray, eat, and wrestle, repeat.
Exactly. I made it integral to my character because the best characters are the ones that are closest to who you really are. And so I knew full well that I could just be me, and it would work, and it would be natural, and it would come across as genuine, because it is genuine. The people who meet me, and Jack said this yesterday, he thinks that there's a difference between the Gareth Angel that you meet in the ring and the Gareth Thompson that you meet outside of it. And actually, there'll be people watching this stream right now who can tell you the complete opposite. People who know me day to day, who don't leave the show and go back to Salford, the people who actually see me day to day, who sit with me when I'm talking to them at lunch, or who phone me at 2 a.m. because they're dealing with issues in their lives and I'm there to help them. Like, they will tell you the very differences, that I am genuine, and it comes through everything that I do. So I don't hide it. When I meet other wrestlers who are Christians, it's often a kind of, yeah. And there's no like kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no energy to it. There's no excitement about it. That their faith is
There's
in the
no
backseat.
oomph. There's no
No
oomph toward it. We're saying, hey, you know what? Yes, I believe in this. Yes, this is who I am. And I think it's almost, and tell me your thoughts on this, because obviously you do acting, you do other things. You're obviously very vocal in the community, especially where you are. But I almost feel like that society in general, maybe it's because, how can I put this? The mainstream media, whether it's in the UK or the US or elsewhere, kind of almost make it feel like, oh, well, if you're Christian or if you're born again, or even if you're other faiths and you believe in that it's almost as if like you're almost like stereotyped. Is that maybe part of it, you think? It looks like there we lost the champ. Are you there, champ? I guess we're having some technical difficulties there with you. While I guess we wait for the champ to come back on here, we have a few different comments in here. Do we have you now, champ? I can't hear you, champ.
Okay. I'm back. I see where you were going. Can you hear me now?
Good. Jump in.
Okay.
Now I hear you.
I'm
Now I
back. Can
hear
you hear
you. Go
me?
ahead. Jump in.
Great. I saw
Yes.
where you were going with that question. Um, I think what happens is the mainstream media makes it seem as though if you're a Christian, that you're a nut job 9 times out of 10, that you hate people, that you have all these different ideas around homosexuality and other stuff that just makes people cringe and not want to have anything to do with you. And actually, it's the complete opposite when you really meet genuine Christians who practice regularly. That all they want to do is love and help people. And it's not what you see on mainstream media. They obviously go for the most extreme versions of things. That's what they do, and so that's what happens. That's what you see. Um, if you were to walk into our church, you would see a whole bunch of different people from different walks of life. We're not all white middle class men. We've got the homeless that we feed on a Saturday night. We've got people who can come in and sit through a mental health group. We've got support groups for kids and parents. It's all there. We're an anchor in the community, and we don't disregard anyone. We don't hate anyone. We don't exclude anyone. We're open to everyone, and we're like, hey, come along. Whether you're a Christian or not, whether you're exploring faith or not, even if you just want to come and get a meal in your belly, great. Let's provide that. Let's just be what Jesus asked us to be, and that's light in a dark world. That's all that we should be. And what really kind of grates me when I meet people who have such a lukewarm faith, if you want to call it that, is that, when we really dig into what Jesus has done for us, and I can say this personally in my own life, I really, from the age of 16, homeless and a whole bunch of other stuff, I really should have been in a completely different place now, in prison or dead. If it wasn't for the church, other Christians, and Jesus' impact on my life, none of this would be happening. I wouldn't be sat here, a dad to two beautiful little girls. I wouldn't have a championship belt around my waist and a ministry that I'm running. I wouldn't be on such a great, amazing journey and be so full of life. Um, I've been given a Mercedes, and I'm proud that I've got a Mercedes, essentially, a Porsche, a Ferrari, whatever you want to call it. Whereas other people, they've been given their dream car, they've locked it in the garage, they've dusted all the paint off, they've knocked the badge off, they've covered it up. They know it's there. They ain't going to tell the world about it. That's what I think. That's what I feel when I meet these kinds of people. And I'm like, come on, you have been given one of the greatest gifts in life, a second chance, an opportunity to change your life and others. And yet you're meh about it. I don't have time for those kinds of people.
And these are reasons why, most importantly, because if you're hearing all the great things about GT Ministries, I want everybody to follow GT Ministries on Twitter, GT Ministries UK, Instagram as well, Facebook, because if you like what you hear right now and you like what the champ Gareth Angel is saying, you can find out. Step into the church if you're nearby in Bradford or anywhere in the UK. You can find out what this church is, because again, it's not like, oh, well, you've got these rich white people and they're all sitting there and they're all well just. No, these are regular average people from our community, hardworking people that just want to have a conversation and talk about their love of Jesus Christ, and talk about all the great things that they want to do, because that's what it's about. At the end of the day, even if you don't read the Bible so much and you try to incorporate those day in and day things, you're going to get that here from GT Ministries. And on top of that, have a great wrestling card that's going to be here next Saturday. And of course, our champion here, Gareth Angel, is going to be a huge part of that. We are very, very honored to have him here on the show with us. And I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryson. Of course, if you like what you hear from us on Sportswire Radio, please give us a like and follow at Sportswire Radio on Facebook. And 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you can listen to all of our great content on sportnarium.com/player. Listen, we'll talk GT Ministries 24 hours a day if we have to. I mean, at this point, we just love talking about all the great things that this church and this company does. And look at his shirt right there. For those who are watching, GT Ministries Pro Wrestling. It almost looks like a 1997 Undertaker shirt. I mean, champ, did you have the Undertaker incorporated when you made that shirt and were designing it? Because it does have Undertaker influences there. So who knows? Who knows, really?
The influence for me has always been just to be a little bit edgy. a bit grungy.
I could see that. I could definitely see the grunge influence there. I could definitely see some of that for sure. I almost see a little bit, and you'll probably chuckle as I say. I know we're going through some. Yeah, good.
And to be as different as possible. Have you lost me again?
I've got you back now. I've got you back now. I've got you back.
Okay, cool. You got me back. Cool, great. I'll just stop my camera for a moment just to get us some
No
kind of bandwidth.
worries. Listen.
Yeah.
Certainly
So
no
the
worries. You're the
influences for
champion.
the
Don't
design
worry
of
about it.
GTM. Yeah. The influence for the design of GTM. I've always been a fan of the purple color. I just think it stands for royalty. I think it just there's something cool about purple. I was an old school Undertaker fan. My first gear was black and purple, very Undertaker inspired. And it's such great news to hear that he's recently come to faith and is quite open about it, which is awesome. But Shawn Michaels was my second biggest influence. He was a massive part of my journey into wrestling. One of my first matches I saw was a Shawn Michaels Razor Ramon at WrestleMania 10. I got to meet him, got to pray with him, which was awesome. He loved my
Wow.
shirt, the Pray, Eat, Wrestle, Repeat shirt. And yeah, so I've been massively influenced by Undertaker, Shawn, The Rock. I mean, how can you not be influenced by him? The promo style. I used the rock bottom as a finish. And more recently, CM Punk. I just love the rebel attitude of CM Punk, that he will do what he wants to do, and kind of doing what we're doing with GTM is very very punk-ish. We're going against the social norms. We're pushing boundaries. We're being bold and brash about who we are, and we're giving people opportunities that you wouldn't normally see. So that's what we're about.
Listen, I've always been a free spirit. I've always been somebody that's very independent, and that's again reasons why I want everybody also to follow our champion here on Instagram. You can do that at Gareth_Angel. So make sure you follow the champ because he's doing a lot of great things here. And champ, you mentioned Shawn Michaels, and I want to mention Shawn Michaels in a context to where we are today with you, because I'm sure a lot of people know your story, but being here in New York, some of my supporters who are hearing from you the first time, you do have a story, I think, in a lot of ways that is similar to a Shawn Michaels, in the fact that your upbringing was very difficult, was very harsh. There was a lot of things that happened there that any other person, like you said, you should be in jail, you should be dead, or who knows where else you would have been. Or as my father would have said, you would have been in Potter's Field here in New York somewhere. That's where you would have been. We don't know where you would have been, but you're here. And it's a story very similar to Shawn Michaels. And talk to me about that story and how it has led you to the person that you are today.
So if we were to start as a kid, I grew up in a council estate in Keighley called Braithwaite. I had my mum and dad and two younger brothers. My mum and dad divorced when I was 6, and my mum took to the drink quite hard. I would often take my brothers to school, and then I would walk around town, go in all the different bars and pubs to find my mum to get the keys. I'd take my brothers home, feed them, put them to bed. My mum would come home drunk. I'd feed her, put her to bed. And I'm 6, 7 years old at this point, so quite a young child. Then I was sexually abused by one of my cousins for a year. And
Mm.
I eventually told my mother about it. That all went public. I got bullied for it. Went to secondary school and I was made homeless at 15. My mum threw me out. So I lived in a skip, big metal kind of bin thing in Keighley for 8 weeks before I got moved into a homeless hostel. While I was in the hostel, there were people taking drugs, self-harming. I had to fight to survive, people stealing from each other. And then I eventually found myself um, in work, bouncing around jobs, racking up a bunch of debt, never really able to hold anything down. But I managed to get into my own home and had a relationship with a girl. And I bumped into some of her friends and we struck up a friendship playing video games and stuff. And they invited us to church one morning. And I'd been to church when I was a kid because the schools I went to were Roman Catholic schools. So I was aware
Sure.
of, mass and all that kind of stuff. But I wasn't expecting what we walked into. It was quite an open space. There was a live band. There was a lot of, there was no pews. There was no organ. The vicar welcomed me at the door, shook my hand and took me for a coffee. It was just really, really different. Um, and then I found myself in the worship when they were singing the songs that they sing. They were singing about love, and I found myself just in tears. And I could not hold back the emotion. And a guy came to me after the service and he said, "Hey, I saw you crying." Now, I was a macho man, did not want to be seen as weak. And I told him, "Nah, I wasn't crying. You didn't see that. Nah, that's not what you saw." And he's like, "No, no, I saw you crying and I can tell you why." So I thought, okay, well, I will humor this guy. Okay, why was I crying? And he said to me, and I'll never forget it, and it struck me in my heart, like absolutely struck me, like being shot. He said, "You've just felt love for the first time in your life, and you didn't know what to do with it." And he was correct. Every other person I'd ever been into a relationship with, my parents, my friends, everyone had hurt me, had damaged me, had caused me pain. And in this moment, I was just bearing my soul to God, thinking about love and what that is and how can I be loved. And that's when I kind of started on the faith journey. And started to kind of give it a go, and attend church regularly, start to read my Bible and pray and try and dig into it. But I want to give a word of caution, because the Christian life is not a bed of roses. It's not all hunky dory and everything's fine. Bad stuff still happens in your life. And it wasn't long after I'd made that decision that I got married, and my grandmother was there that day. She'd had dementia for a couple of years, and she passed away that night, on the night of my wedding. And I took
Mm.
that really hard. I kind of thought, I'm on the winning team. Why would something bad like that happen to me? And then I found out shortly after that my wife was having an affair with I'd been training for a bit, so one of the wrestlers that I was training with, who I'd even put up in my house, she was having an affair with him. And then she left me. I lost my job. I was in debt, and I was in a box room thinking, well, what on earth has just happened? From the highest of highs to the lowest of lows within the space of 6 months. And that was when I really started taking it seriously. There was a guy called Dave Kendall who came and started mentoring me, and become a really close friend. One of the best friends. I still talk to him now. He lives on the other side of the world in Australia, but we still talk. Um, and he took me on this journey of forgiveness, of forgiving my mum. I met with her and we talked it out. I found my dad and struck up a relationship with him, and we're able to kind of talk to him about him not being around when I was a kid. Um, got back with a wife for a bit. She had a second affair and we divorced shortly after, because forgiveness doesn't make you a doormat. And if people still continue to hurt you, it's okay to end that relationship. So we did. And then I got stuck, and this is where the real kind of knee jerker is. We got stuck because I didn't know how, or kind of what I could do to forgive my abuser. Last I knew, he was in prison. And I got myself a new job, and I said to Dave, like, what can we do? And he said, well, the first thing we can do is pray. And that's why my shirt starts with prayer. It's the first thing we can do is pray. So I've said a very simple and bold prayer, one that has come back to bite me in a massive way, in a good way. Was, um, okay, God, if you're there, if you're real, if all of this is true, and if you want me on the team and you want me to go for it, help me forgive my abuser. If you can do that, then I'm all in. That was the prayer. Very simple, very bold. And the next day at work, the next day, you couldn't write it. We're storytellers, you couldn't write it. I was at work, and my abuser came in and joined the queue, and I had to serve him. I met my abuser face to face, and I had to serve him. So I took his DVDs off him. It was in a game store. I took his DVDs off him, cashed it through the till, looked him dead in the eyes, and I could see there was just as much fear in him as there was in me. And as I gave him his change back and I held his hand, I told him, I forgive you for what you did. And it was almost like I was been carrying an elephant on my back all my life, and it just decided to get off. And I could, wow, it was just such an amazing experience to kind of feel that just drop off me. And I was like, okay, God, I'm in. You've got me. And so from that point on, I really took it seriously. I moved churches. I found myself working at Christians Against Poverty. I did that for 7 years, helping people out of debt and into employment. I kind of started looking at pursuing becoming a vicar myself. Obviously, GTM, my wrestling career going from strength to strength, and just been given the opportunity just to come alongside so many people in dark, broken places that I can share to in a way that they really relate, because they've been through similar things. Um, and we can talk on a level that's understandable. And I consider so many of them friends now. Some of the guys even commenting today are friends of mine who I've met because of some of the dark stuff they've been through and been able to help them out of it. And there's a guy called Jonathan who's going to get baptized in April when we do our wrestling church. That's the thing.
I
Worship, word,
saw
and
some of the
wrestling.
videos of that. I was really
Yeah.
impressed with that because, again, you're really actually going hands on and directly helping people. It's not just about entertainment. It's not just about wins and losses. It's about legitimately using your platform, and you're in a very unique position. You are a public figure, and you're actually going out there, champ, and trying to help people, like whether it's Jonathan, whether it's Damo, whether it's Bradley that's been on here, and helping people because you don't want people to go through what you went through. Because
No.
as you know this, you're very lucky. You're a 1 in a million story where you went through what you went through and you came out of it, and you came out of it the way you are. You've got a beautiful family. You've got a great job. You're a world champion. You've been in movies. I mean, you've done all these things that, listen, you're very lucky. You're a 1 in a million story. So you're actually doing something that's trying to help, whether it's Jonathan or Damo or Bradley, in the fact that they don't want to end up the way you did. You're showing them things. And it's like you said, it's not just hunky dory. Yes, you might read the Bible, but there is also, always been a scapegoat with people. Oh, well, you believe in God, so automatically, oh, you can't be a bad person, or you can't have a bad day, because people would use that against you. That was always the line. Listen,
Yeah.
anytime I got in trouble, everybody would say, "Oh, well, you're this and that." So, I mean, I totally understand where you're coming from with all these things. But I want to get back to GT Ministries real quick, and I'm sure you heard the comments now from Bentley, and also obviously, all kidding aside, from Mr. Johnson, obviously, who's going to sign the contract with you next weekend. They really talked about, and I'm sure a number of wrestlers would vouch for this as well, the professionalism that you guys have. Yes, you guys are doing a lot of great things with the work and the community and the Lord, but also in the fact that you guys really run things where people feel welcome, creative control. People's characters can be expounded upon. I mean, how does that make you feel when wrestlers who are peers of yours at the same time really rave about the kind of place that you've built, allowing each wrestler to feel like they can grow and expand their career?
It just, I mean, I can't help but feel proud. Because that's what I wanted it to be. I wanted GTM to be different. I've worked in so many different promotions over the years, and I've had ideas shot down. I've not been paid. I've found out they didn't have insurance, or the ring was half broken. There was no entrance music. I've seen it all. I've been in smelly, dirty locker rooms at working men's clubs, and you're just climbing over each other, and I mean, it's all part of paying your dues. It's all part of being in the business, and you learn a lot of character stuff through that for yourself personally. But I also think that there is a way to do it differently. And if a guy comes to my promotion, if a wrestler comes to my promotion and he's paid before he wrestles, he's fed and watered, he's looked after, he's spoken to, he's given creative control to a degree. We don't go, 100, I have ideas and there's ways that things work.
Yeah, I mean,
There's,
everybody has to lose at some point. I mean, you can't. Everybody
yeah,
can't say,
exactly.
"Yeah, I want to win."
But it's collaborative. I want those guys to feel like they're part of the family. That it's not that they come, they get paid, and they leave, because that does not create loyalty. That does not create enthusiasm. That does not get the best out of people. I want the best for these guys and girls, but I want the best of them. I want them to be everything that they can be, so that benefits GTM and then benefits them. They leave our shows with a show reel which looks extremely professional, with commentary, with entrance videos and lighting that they can take and use everywhere else that they want. I don't say don't use our footage. Use whatever you want, guys. Take it. Don't use our photos. Use whatever you want. Take it. They've signed a release waiver so that we can use their images, but also that means that they have the ability to do whatever they want with the footage. We're not going to hold them to it and say, oh, by the way, you have to wait 8 months before it goes on DVD before you can do anything with it. It's live streamed. Share it, use it, whatever you want to do, because I want them to go away from our shows feeling like they've benefited. And I think a lot of the guys and girls on our shows do feel like that. They do leave feeling that they've been looked after, they've been cared for, and that they want to come back. and that means that we have, I've got a roster with too many people on. I can't book everyone for every show, and everyone wants to come. And we're trying to do our best to facilitate some of these stories and characters. But everyone wants to be a part of it, and that's what I wanted GTM to be different.
I think these are reasons why, again, everybody needs to follow GT Ministries. Cannot stress this enough on Instagram and Twitter. GT Ministries UK. Also, please like the Facebook page, because GT Ministries, again, is at the forefront in terms of all the great things it's doing. It's not just about wrestling. And yes, a lot of the wrestling is great. It's a great company. It's a great promotion. We're really excited about Saturday's card. But there's also a lot of things here that make this a very special place. And one of those reasons why we're very, very feeling honored to be here is with our champion speaking about GT Ministries, and that is Mr. Gareth Angel. And what a tremendous honor it is to speak with the world champion. And I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. We have another 20 or so minutes with the champ. Obviously, always very, very happy that he can communicate. And again, when a champion wants to come on, ladies and gentlemen, when you have a champion, you do whatever the champ says. Despite what he's saying, he still is the champion. So it is obviously a tremendous honor to have him. And also everybody who is watching and listening to this here, whether it's on Sportswire Radio, sportnarium.com/player, Northeast Streaming Sports Channel. We're also going to play this on Roku. So that'll be Tuesday afternoon, 8 p.m. British Standard Time in the evening, and here in New York, that'll be 3 p.m. So if you are having a Roku and you have a streaming device, you can catch this also here worldwide live. So thank you, everybody who's watching and listening to this here. Champ, I did want to ask you about another company. I mean, I don't know if you'd have the same feelings about this company, but I have to ask you about them because we speak about them almost at this point every single day at this point. And we're going to have a few other wrestlers later on here, later tonight, UK time, to speak about the LWF. And they have an event upcoming, and you were a part of the LWF for quite a while there in the past. And I almost have to ask you. Yeah, I'm aware of it. Listen, I saw some of the promos. I saw some of the matches, and we have a lot of support in the LWF. But I can ask you, I'm sure, because they're going to be listening, and I'm sure, most importantly, Mr. Bibby somewhere is going to be watching this. So I almost have to ask you, and you can say whatever you want on this. I mean, give me your thoughts on your time in the LWF.
Okay, I'm going to do this twofold. I just want to
That's
say,
why
first of all,
I said it for you.
Yeah. So I'm going to say this first of all, because it's really important. I love the LWF. I really do. Having been there from the start and to see where those guys are now, it's a massive credit to Steve. Steve Bibby is such a lovely guy. If people were to say who are the nicest guys in wrestling, Steve Bibby and myself would probably be way up there. And he's such a lovely guy, and I've got all the time in the world for him. And he knows that, and I do message him from time to time. Now, I'm loving what they're doing. I'm loving where they're going. I'm a big fan of Ronaldo. Big fan of all the guys that they're bringing in, the talent from the academy. They're doing amazing stuff. I'm just so happy for them. I really am. So I want to say that first and foremost. In regards to my time at LWF, for those who don't know, I've almost kind of been, I don't know, resigned to a bad part of history. I don't know. I was in the first Castle Cup final. Main evented the first show. I was in the final two of the first Riot that they had, the Rumble, which is obviously upcoming.
Yep.
I was one of the first kind of guys to really test their current champion Ronaldo. Me and him had a storied history, quite a few bouts against each other, and I think my time at LWF, I maybe haven't quite achieved everything I would have wanted to have achieved there. I think I'd love to come back and test Ronaldo again now that he's champion. We've had a great working relationship with the LWF, GTM and LWF. We partnered together on an event that we did at St Andrew's Church in Leyland in April a couple of years back. I often had some of their talent up on the shows. And we worked together. I was originally supposed to be a guest coach at their academy when it first opened as well. So there's a lot of history there. And I just want to say to the LWF, Steve, Daryl, all the guys there, if you want me back, I'll happily come back. But I'm not expecting a message. But if they want me back, I would love to see Reynaldo face to face one more time and have a little bit of a back and forth and see who really is the better champion. That would tickle my fancy. But hey,
Well,
any capacity
yeah.
I can help the LWF, I'm in. I want to help them any way I can.
Well, champ, don't worry if Mr. Bibby won't message you or won't get back to you right away, because I can assure you that I'll definitely be relaying the message to Mr. Bibby and also to Mr. Fitzgerald, because Mr. Fitzgerald is coming back on the show in a few weeks, and I can certainly have a word or two. And in fact, I can even put that out there worldwide. So management will know about this. And when it comes to Reynaldo, Reynaldo has been on our show twice. And
Yeah.
certainly the champion is apparently a big fan of mine. And he actually, almost like you personally, wanted to reach out and come on the air. So I'm going to throw it out there because I know you and him have a storied history. And I know that the champ will listen to this, because I'll make sure he'll listen to this, because I know where he is right now. And I'm not going to say where he is right now at the moment, but I know where he will be eventually. And that is going to be in a ring sometime, because he is the reigning defending LWF champion, just like you're the reigning defending GT Ministries world champion. So I'm going to put it out there, since you've already said that you and Mr. Bibby have partnered in the past. Reynaldo is the champion. You've said Reynaldo's the past. Well, he's currently the present. You're definitely the present. I mean, let's put it out there. Who knows? Put the date, put the ring up, figure a place and time. We'll figure out how to sell tickets. We'll do that pretty easily, I think.
Yeah.
You and Reynaldo, champion versus champion. Forget about Brock and Bobby. Forget about Brock and Roman. Forget about Hangman Page and Bryan Danielson. Forget about CM Punk and MJF. I think, and I know this for a fact, as the host of the Sports Report and the station manager of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce, GT Ministries World Champion Gareth Angel, LWF World Champion Reynaldo. Listen, that's already bigger than WrestleMania. Let's make it happen. What do you say, champ? What do you say?
I'm all for it. Count me in. Count me in. And hey, let's spice things up a little bit more. I know that you have the BTW guys on here quite regularly, Bolton Town Wrestling. Rarebit is their current world champion. I've seen him obviously with Jack Johnson. Me and him are potentially going to clash at some point. It looks like if he continues getting in my business, I might just have to step up to the Rarebit. Why don't we throw him in the mix too? Why don't we make it a triple threat? Why don't we do BTW World Champ Rarebit, LWF World Champ Reynaldo, GTM World Champ Gareth Angel, all three at the same time, all the belts on the line, biggest main event ever.
Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, now I'm thinking about this here because I'm trying to think of a match where you had three world champions in the ring and all the gold was on the line. I mean, listen, I'm trying to think of a scenario here, and we talk a lot of wrestling.
Never happened.
It has happened. Okay, that's what I'm trying to figure this out. In fact, I'm even going to start the conversation here tonight, because I'm going to have on 10 p.m. British Standard Time, cheap plug, live on sportnarium.com/player from the LWF, Wildfire Nate Reese, who's been at the academy, who's been a trainer there, obviously. I'm sure you know Mr. Reese very well. And also the asset Stephen Cross. I'll ask them, and I'll put them right on the spot. And I'll say, guys, I know you're company men, but we just had on Gareth Angel. Bolton Town Wrestling's champion is Rabbit. Reynaldo's not doing anything coming up. He's still going to walk away being the champion by the end of the month. Let's make it happen. I mean, listen, triple threat, 3 world champions in the ring, and all belts on the line. I mean, listen, you think about it, Matt. Listen, this is even bigger than Tyson Fury defending his title. This is even bigger than an Anthony Joshua fight. This is bigger than a UFC fight. I mean, listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start this. I think we're on to something here, champ. And I'm seeing people here reading off comments saying, Bradley Cook Pattinson, I'd book it. Damo Hunter, book it. Jonathan Holloway also saying, don't forget, tickets are still available for GTM Exodus Pro Wrestling event through Fountain Church. But don't worry about that, Jonathan. After what we just said, what's going to trend on social media, I guarantee you over the next several days, we're going to be able to sell out, if it didn't sell out already, GTM Exodus, and you book the place. Listen, I'll even throw it out there, champ. If Mr. Bibby doesn't want to do it or any other promoter doesn't want to do it, I'll put up my own pounds. That's right. I'll put it up. I'm in the radio business. I'll be happy to put up my money to see 3 belts on the line and to see one person walk away from it. So listen, if Mr. Bibby doesn't want to do it because Mr. Bibby's worried about his investment in Reynaldo, if Bolton Town Wrestling's worried about their investment in your guy, Rabbit, I'll make it happen for you, champ. Don't worry about it. We'll make this happen.
And then, hey, look, if we get it booked in, why don't you then get all 3 of us on here and we can have it out verbally beforehand?
Listen, Reynaldo can talk, by the way. I want to let you know.
I know he can.
Reynaldo,
I know he can.
Listen, do you know what? Listen, I shouldn't even say it, but I'm going to say it because you know what? You are the champion, and you're going to probably not even know what I'm about to tell you. Do you know that when Reynaldo came on the first time, he actually busted out a Notorious B.I.G. rap verse because I'm from New York. So he automatically who knew Reynaldo was into rap? I mean, you're thinking Reynaldo, right? This white-collar fireman world champion, right? You're thinking Reynaldo. He's going to be very proper, the 12th man, the top of the table, and he almost busts out in a 3-minute verse. And we're like, champ, you're live. We want to talk wrestling. I mean, I don't know if we can compete on a hip-hop stage, but certainly Reynaldo can bust out a rap or two. So listen, anything can happen. So I'm certainly very confident that Reynaldo could be on here with you. You and him have a history, and Rabbit you have a history with. So, and Jonathan Holloway is telling me that I need to come over and be the special guest referee. Well, you know what? I mean, I'll do whatever. Listen, whatever the champs tell me, I'll gladly do it. Listen, whatever is needed, I will gladly do it. So we're going out there. We're on the record here. We're gonna make this happen. We're gonna find a way to do it. Mr. Bibby has been a guest on the show. Mr. Fitzgerald comes on every month with us. So the LWF has no excuse. And all the Bolton Town wrestlers, we're friends with them. Helena Razor just came on a couple weeks ago, and Mr. Getsky and everybody else. And speaking of them, I know that also we've had some LWF talent, and Mr. Cutter and Mr. Getsky, they've been a part of GT Ministries, and certainly there is a lot of crossover here. And certainly Mr. Stone is one half of the. Listen, you have the tag team champions in the LWF who've been in your promotion, so technically, champ, Mr. Bibby owes you.
I mean, you know, when we did the event in Leyland, I chose the LWF over other local promotions to bring them in and to give them the spotlight, because when we tour places and we go to somewhere like Leyland, we're going to leave. We're going to go back to Bradford. So it's no good for me to only promote us. I might as well have the LWF guys there, promote the academy, promote their shows, so that when we leave, they're the ones who get the rub. So, you know, we would happily do that for the LWF. We're back in Leyland in April. We're going to do the same. I'll let everybody know about the LWF. I'm in Castleford in April. We're going to let everyone there know about TNT in Castleford. Like, wherever we go, if there's a local promotion, we'll partner with them.
TNT, they have plenty of coverage. I actually did a TNT segment 2 weeks ago. TNT's doing just fine.
Yeah. But, you know, like we want to benefit others and promote others and
sure.
rather than kind of, you know, try and take each other's cannibalize each other's fans. You know,
and I think that's a good point, and I think it's also one of the things that is to why I enjoy speaking about the scene here, because whether it's KOW, whether it's Odyssey Pro Wrestling, whether it's BWR, whether it's what you guys do, whether it's Pinfall, any other promotions, that I really feel like that you guys all do work with each other. I do feel like that what I think has been so successful here, since especially lockdown has ended, where everybody's going back in the ring, is that I do feel like that you guys all are team players, not just within your company, but all across the other promotions, because I really feel like, in a lot of ways, tell me your thoughts on this, that I almost feel like that it's almost like what the territory days used to be back in the 70s and the 60s and the early 80s, where the AWA, the NWA, the old WWF and the UWF, where you guys all work together. And I feel the same way with a lot of our little companies here in the UK. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Well, yeah. So, just to give you an idea of BTW, their show tonight, a bunch of my trainees have packed our ring up and taken it over for the show tonight. It's our ring that they're using.
And Bentley's going to be in the ring against Franco Varga tonight.
And Bentley and Franco Varga, and Bentley's going to come back to us, and hey, we might even get Franco over. You know, like we share talent.
Mr. Bibby got him, so you might as well get him also, because
and
we didn't even realize Mr. Bibby could afford it, because we know Mr. Bibby pays in hot dogs.
So yeah, you know, we partner, and I think that when you talk about the old territory days, when you've got champions who are willing to travel to other promotions and put their belt on the line for the benefit of that audience and for those fans, they get to see another talent that they wouldn't normally have come across, and they get to see someone who they may then go away and follow and kind of want to see a piece of. The great thing about social media is it's so easy to do that now, that you can follow a wrestler from anywhere in the world with just a click of a finger.
Oh,
and when
look
they're
at
nearby,
me. I'm from New York, right? And you would think, okay, I would never know anything about Salford or Bradford or Chorley or, Lancashire or any other place, Barrow, Morecambe, right? But over the past year, I mean, I've become more ingrained with the UK, frankly, than any other place. So you just never know. It's a different world.
never know.
It's not like 10 or 15 years ago where it was like, okay, you're from one place, that's all you're going to know about. So it's a totally different world. And I think these are reasons why, again, GT Ministries, please follow and like them on Twitter, Facebook. Also, Gareth Angel, please follow him on Twitter, Gareth Angel, Instagram, Gareth_Angel. And Gareth, I want to ask you a few more questions, because I realize your time is very, very short, because you are a very, very busy man. You are doing a number of different things. So I do want to ask you on what's your goals for 2022?
I think I want to get national coverage again. I want to get us back on the BBC or Channel 4 or something like that. I really want, GTM to get national exposure.
We're putting you on Roku on Tuesday, if that helps.
Okay, well, hey, it all helps. It all helps. I think I want to find myself. I want to do over 20 events with GTM this year. I think that's another goal of mine. We've currently got 10 in the calendar with Fountains and another 3 or 4 in other places. So I kind of want to bump that up and get a few more events in the calendar. But then personally for me, I really want to make the GTM Championship one that people want to come and see, that people hear of. It is a very beautiful belt. And I think we can do well. Whether that belt is on me or on someone else, I really think that the GTM Championship should be one that people are aware of and that people want to fight for. And then I obviously want to beat the snot out of Jack Johnson in whenever he decides he wants to fight me. And by the end of the year, I want to end the year at Christmas with my 2 little girls sat around the table, eating turkey, having a great old Christmas with the championship belt still sat around my waist.
What does it mean to you to be a world champion?
It means everything. It really does, because it means that I'm an ambassador for that promotion, whichever promotion it is. And for me, I take being responsible for things and being an ambassador for things very seriously. It ingrains every part of who I am. The way I act on social media, the way I act in person, the way I am on TV and radio, all this kind of stuff. If I'm representing your company, then I need to be the absolute best version of myself to benefit everyone who I represent. Whether that's the little guys who come to our academy or the big champions in other promotions, whoever I represent, I need to do that the best way that I can. So when you've got a championship on you, it's really important that you take that seriously.
What do you want to say to anybody that's coming next Saturday, or for those who are watching this and are on the fence and might say, hey, you know what? I'm going to hear a clip of this, or I'm going to watch drips and drabs of our segment and say, you know what? Now I might want to come to the next event, or maybe I want to follow you guys on social media. What do you want to say to those 2 groups of people?
I say just get on with it. Find us on social media, add us, talk to us, get in touch, come along to a show, watch it live streamed. You don't even have to leave your home to support us. You can donate to us. We have ways that you can do that. If you don't want to come to a show in person, you could still support us financially. You could still support us on social media, share the links. I would say just get involved. We treat our fans as part of the family. Everything that we do is to benefit those who support us. And we wouldn't be able to do what we do without you. So come along to a show. If you come into February 19th, expect there to be fireworks. Bentley and Sean only. That is going to be a phenomenal match.
We
There's
talked a
of bad blood there.
lot about that
Yeah.
match. A lot about that match.
That's going to be a huge main event. Myself and Jack and the contract signing. I mean, I can't tell you what's going to happen. We might have words.
Well, don't tell us.
We might,
because you're going to spoil it for those who are going to come. I mean, don't tell us what's going to happen. Listen,
I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to come along and see. But I can promise you this: whether it's just words or if we do end up in a fight, Jack Johnson will come away from that a bit bruised and battered. And he's going to realize that when he steps in the ring with Gareth Angel, it's not a ride in the park and it's not an easy day out. And he can bring Rarebit and he can bring Boylan with him. At the end of the day, it's not going to matter because I will overcome. I always overcome. And if we have to do that verbally before we do that physically, then so be it. But I expect there to be fireworks. I expect there to be a tense atmosphere. And so I would say, yeah, come along, be a part of that. You're going to witness something special.
Oh, I got a very, very good feeling about that for sure here. Jim, I'm going to ask you two last questions here. And the first part of that is, give me one or two moments. I know you've had a lot of them so far, but give me one or two moments that stand out most in your career.
I would say one that I really enjoyed was my time at RWL. If you ever get a chance to speak to the guys who run RWL in Blackburn, I was undefeated there for 2 years and won Rumble. I came in first and last and won it. There's one you need to watch that. You need to see how that happened. I came in first and last in a Rumble and won it. I'm still at a title shot, by the way, RWL. I'm still at a title shot. And my whole time there was a highlight. I loved it. The work we did there with the way, the group that I had before Johnny Gargano stole it was great. I love my time there. And then I would say my other highlight of my career would be my time with GTM at Fountains when at Takeover when I won the world title. You can go back and watch this. Just the atmosphere in the room was just electric, and it was the loudest cheer I've ever heard. Like it almost deafened me, and people were out of their seats. They were trying to climb in the ring. It was just pandemonium. Everyone going crazy. And all of them, most of them that I knew personally, that were friends, that were family. My wife was there, my daughter was there, and you just can't beat those kind of moments. And I saw Ronaldo post recently a picture of himself with his son with the title, and so I can really relate to that. I saw that, and I just was like, yeah, my little girls are going to see their dad as champion, and that's going to really inspire and encourage them. But in that moment, putting that title belt over my shoulder, it just felt right, and everything was just amazing. So they would be the two highlights. But I've got many, but they would be the two.
You've got 100 moments here, and you're going to have 100 more moments after this. And you did kind of remind me of Reynaldo's win because we broke that whole thing down and how everybody came out and they lifted him up afterwards. And it did kind of remind me of that. So that's why, again, another reason why that I'd love to see you and Reynaldo. We'll throw Rabbit in the mix there as well. We're going to certainly work on that tonight. But also, before closing thoughts here, I know that Mr. Johnson's going to be listening to this.
Yeah.
These are the last shot you're going to get, the last words in, because Mr. Johnson got his words in last night. So your final words here before the contract signing to Mr. Johnson are?
Mr. Johnson, I know that you've come to GTM to be a champion. I know you've come to GTM to be the man, and that you think that you're owed something, that you think the world owes you. But I can tell you this for a fact, that when you come to GTM and you step between those ropes with me, February 19th, March 19th, April 23rd, whatever date we choose, that date will be the day that you seal your destiny to be the guy who I beat a year later, 200 days later, You'll be the trivia question answer. Who did Gareth Angel beat after a contract signing to retain his GTM World Championship? I can promise you that. I can guarantee you that. But I will guarantee you one other thing, Johnson, is that you will not leave that match the same. I will take you to places you have never been. I will take you to deeper waters than you've ever swam in, and I will push you to the absolute limit that you have ever experienced. And if you can't handle it, I'm going to break you emotionally, physically, spiritually, and I'm going to leave you a shell of a man that you think you are. And you're going to walk out of GTM a completely different person, for better or for worse.
Ladies and gentlemen, February the 19th, you better find your way to the Fountains Church. You better find your way to Bradford, because I can assure you that the exodus could be coming for Mr. Johnson, because Gareth Angel has responded and some here when it comes to what he has had to say here, and much, much more. This has certainly been an action-packed Sportswire radio here to kick off the weekend. I could not think of a better way than to kick the weekend off here and talk all things related to professional wrestling and to speak with a world champion. And we are going to work on the fact we could have a match here. 3 world champions in the ring, all belts on the line. We will certainly work on that. And Champ, I know that you're a busy man. It is a tremendous honor to have you. I want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to share? Any social media you also want to plug? And I can't thank you enough. And the floor is yours. And fire away, my friend.
Well, you've already shared all the social media links for GT Ministries and myself, Gareth Angel. I would just say get on there and follow our talent as well. Anyone who works for GTM, follow those guys too. They deserve your support. They all benefit from it. Any help that we can give each other to help each other along the way is all beneficial. And I just want to thank you, Rev Tom, for having me on. I want to thank everyone who's listening, all the guys who've commented. But this is not the end of the journey. This is still just the beginning for us at GTM. We're still growing. We're still expanding. We've still got big plans for this year and next. So get your eyes on us. You're going to see us everywhere. And we're going to make some waves. We're going to make some noise in the British scene. And hey, you never know. We might even go international one time.
I'll tell you what,
you'll see.
Would love to have you here, and I'd love to come down here. One of my bucket list things. In fact, Reynaldo started the whole that I need to come down and watch everybody wrestle here. That is definitely on my bucket list. You are definitely a part of that as well. And I look forward to speaking much, much more about all the great things that GT Ministries here. You can count us for on support, friendship, anything we can do to promote. That's what we're here for. And I can't thank you enough, Champ. Many blessings to you. I'm looking forward to the future. Thank you for all you're doing to inspire people. You are a true role model. You are definitely somebody that is the example. John F. Kennedy used to always say, a rising tide lifts all boats. And certainly our reigning defending GT Ministries champion here, Gareth Angel, is the definition of a rising tide that lifts all boats. My friend, I can't thank you enough. I'm looking forward to next Saturday. I'm looking forward to many, many more things here related to GT Ministries and all the great things you are doing. Thank you for your time. Congratulations on all the success, and go get him out there in that contract, Sonny. Maybe you do need to bring one contract, and Jack will bring his contract, and who knows what'll happen, but definitely make sure you get out there next Saturday. And thank you, my friend, and we look forward to speaking with you soon.
Thanks, Brent. Thanks for having me.
As we're here on the Sports Report, the #1 global sports show with pro wrestling star here, our reigning, defending GT Ministries World Heavyweight Champion, Gareth Angel. As I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. And if you're on sportnarium.com/prior, you go back to your regularly scheduled programming. We'll be back here at 10 p.m. British Standard Time with LWF stars Wildfire Nate Reese, the Acid Stephen Cross. We will have our DJ Dale at 7:45 British Standard Time to kick things off. And we'll be back here 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time as well live. So we'll see how my voice does here after Saturday morning UK time. But we were just with our reigning defending GT Ministries World Champion actor, minister, community leader, and world champion, most importantly, Gareth Angel. I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. Thank you, everyone, to everyone that has watched us here. We will be back later this afternoon, evening. Thank you, and good night, good afternoon, and good morning, wherever you are.